Welcome back to AP US History. We're looking at the 1950s, the culture, the lifestyle. Certainly, the culture of the car is going to transform American society. Americans are going to be more mobile. They'll be out buying hamburgers at your friendly McDonald's hamburger stand, which started in 1955. Howard Johnson it's not as popular today as it was in the 50s. Um, Outdoor theaters. This was the place you went on a Saturday night or a Friday night. Most Friday nights you were watching football, the local football game, the high school football game. But on Saturday night, take your girlfriend out or go out with your buddies and watch a movie in the great outdoors. Certainly, population was moving. A lot of people were moving to the Sun Belt, places like California, New Mexico, Arizona, because the weather's a lot nicer there. Disney opened in 1955 in Southern California after destroying some orange groves. It opened, and a lot of Americans couldn't wait to get in there. It's one of my favorite places to go in Southern California. My wife and I go there about once a month when I'm back in the States. And I was living in the States. One of the things also was television. 1946, 7,000 television sets. By 1950, 50 million. And I can remember lots of Saturday mornings watching cartoons. Someone had said that television was a vast wasteland. Well, maybe so, but it was kind of. It is one of my heroes, and he stood for truth, justice, and the American way. And you notice that he was white. Davy Crockett, the Lone Ranger. This is a theme song from Gunsmoke. Popular westerns. A lot of westerns on the television then. Family shows. I Love Lucy. Well, some were losers, some portrayed as social winners. Uh, he was a bus driver, and she was her husband was a entertainer in a club, and they a lot very both of them very popular during the 50s. Enjoy the music there. Teenagers, rock and roll. The King, Elvis Presley. Of course, a lot of people believe that if you watched Elvis Presley, that you were going to be corrupted. How true. How true. Well, the king is dead. Long live the king. Of course, with this rock and roll came juvenile delinquency. Fast cars and fast motorcycles. And a rebel without a cause. Behavioral rules of the 1950s. Well, you were told in school and by your parents to obey authorities. Don't ever question teachers. Control your emotions. Don't cry. Boys don't cry. Don't make waves. Fit into the group. Conformity. Of course, I think that teenagers still want to fit in today. Don't even think about sex. During this time also there was religious revivals. Church membership grew. Um, Doubled from 1940 to 1960. Uh, there were certainly televangelists on the TV promoting Christianity um, and the Christian way of life. Some epic movies that were produced during the 50s: Ben Hur, The Ten Commandments, uh, Charlton Heston, seemed to be the big star of that particular period. If you were un-American, it's un-American to be unreligious, and this was so. Of course, the commies were atheists, and so they were bad guys. The ideal modern woman: married, cooked, and cared for her family, kept herself busy by joining the PTA, had a troop of Girl Scout campfire girls, entertained guests in her suburban home, and worked out on the trampoline to keep her size 12. Well, I don't know what the size is today, but this is apparently what the perfect woman looked like. Marilyn Monroe was certainly a sex symbol during the 1950s. Men were considered providers, protectors, and the boss of their house. How those days have escaped. In 1956, the organization man, a middle-class white suburban male, is the ideal that we're all striving for. The man in the gray flannel suit. That's the look. Okay, maybe that was a hiccup there. Certainly well-defined gender roles, but the sexual behavior was changing. There was an Alfred Kinsey, brought out the Kinseyan report, said that a lot of men and women were engaged in extramarital sex, which was common. A lot of people rejected that idea. Certainly, this was a very controversial report that came out in the 50s, and a lot of people rejected it outright. This shows the progress through science. You can see that we have IBM computers and hydrogen bombs, and we discovered that DNA is this thing that puts us together as human beings. Vaccines for polio. The nuclear power plant in 1957. NASA is created so that we can beat the Russians into outer space. In 1959, first 7 American astronauts introduced to the public, and the Mercury and the Apollo projects will follow. The Russians again launched that darn Sputnik in 1957, and a lot of Americans are afraid that we're behind them technologically, and so Congress passes the National Defense Education Act that promotes mathematicians and scientists and engineers so that we can catch up to the Russians. UFOs were sighted, unidentified flying objects. Of course, this is a lot of science fiction movies and books were written during this period. You can tell the music is definitely alien music. War of the Worlds. Ooh. Now, what did this all represent? What was the metaphor of aliens? Well, of course, communist. These are unhuman. They're evil creatures. Certainly, atomic anxiety. We looked at the duck and cover, where people got under their desks in school, fell into ditches, got under their porch. Some people even built bomb shelters. This was the craze. You build one in the backyard. Of course, the only problem with that is you better have enough food and water to last 400 years, because today's bombs, that's the half-life. It takes about 400 years before you can come above ground and not be radiated or die of radiation poisoning. The 50s comes to a close. Nixon and Khrushchev meet in 1959. He's the vice president. Khrushchev is a premier of the Soviet Union, and Nixon's more than welcome or ready to show modern convenience of American society. Ooh, I love that. Cold War tensions, technology, and affluence, certainly part of this explosion. The post-war witnessed a tremendous economic growth and a rising social contentment and conformity. Yet in the midst of all this affluence, there were some people who weren't experiencing the good life. So this is gonna lay the foundation. African Americans are going to demand more. We're going to look at that in Chapter 28, the Civil Rights Movement. And we'll stop right there.